Hey, what's going on, Archons? Welcome to another YouTube video, and we're still on the train of seeing some new things. There is a bit of spoiler here, but not too crazy. It's more in context of tokens, so I just wanted to talk about tokens. For those of you who have not looked at the GameFound showing of tokens, or was that just a Ghost Galaxy update? I can't remember which one it is, but anyways, we got some clarification on tokens, and that's what this is all about today. So there is some spoilers here because I'm going to show some cards that demonstrate how tokens are going to come into play. So as a result of that, you will see some cards after this moving forward. So after this first slide, that's when the spoilers will come. But until then, I'm more just talking about tokens and how they work. So how do tokens work? That's a very good question. Basically, tokens are this fantastic new mechanic coming into the game as a result of the extra card being introduced into decks from Dark Tidings. Our first instance of this card being utilized within the game was having a Tide card. So pretty cool. Now, looking at this example here, we're now seeing how tokens are going to come into play. So here, this grunt token here, we can see as the example, is actually coming into play. Actually not coming into play. It will be beside your deck as a reference card. So this reference card lets you know when a token is generated by your deck, this is the token that is generated. So each deck can only generate one type of token as far as I can tell at this moment. Now, from what they explained, it seems that based on your houses, you will have a randomly generated token that is associated with one of the houses within your deck. That being said, there are actually special tokens, we'll call them, because they're unique tokens that are tied to a card specifically. So if this card exists, then you're going to actually get this token. So if you have to show your token at the start of the game, your opponent will also know that you potentially have this one card as a result. So that's one neat thing. Now, when a token is created, what you do is you take the top card of your deck and you place it on the battlefield, on your battle line to the left or the right flank, however you choose to do, as you would with any creature, and it enters play exhausted. And this is what it will look like. This card over here, which is showing the back of the Archon card, the name of the deck, and instead of having the three houses as we've seen displayed, they're now in this kind of triangular cluster in the top right. And then we have a reference picture being shown on the upper left, which represents the art of the card that is the token, that is your reference token. So the backs of Winds of Exchange decks are also going to be unique in relation to decks that have come before from sets. So I think there has been a lot of mixed feelings about this within the community. I personally like it. I think it's an interesting new aspect to the game. And I also like the fact that it's kind of showing things a little bit. I guess it's not. Just looking at the back of another card, the way these lines around here show these kind of like, see this circle here, and then we see a little bit more behind. We're just seeing that design come a little bit differently to reflect the new positioning of the house logos, the logos of the houses. And I actually really like this like Mars, Star Alliance, and Brobnar. What? Like, that is so cool. I'm excited to have a deck like that. I think it could be a lot of fun. Now, let's just get into a couple things based on this. So what I mentioned here is this is how you can see how tokens come into play. They come into play exhausted. If you have cards that generate tokens, they will come from the top of your deck. That's the recap here, okay? Now, if you're playing against someone who does not have a Winds of Exchange deck, it means they don't have tokens. So if there's a token or a card referencing each player makes a token, and they're not playing a Winds of Exchange deck, then they do as much as they can. So that would be do the first part of the text, and then if it says, and then create each player creates a token, you would create a token with the Winds of Exchange deck. The person with the deck that is not from Winds of Exchange would not. We follow the same rule that has always existed, which is do as much as you can. Now, here we are moving into the next slide I have here, here are some cards that create tokens. We can get just an idea of what they do and how they work. So first up is a Star Alliance card. These are all spoiled within the article that was released. Is Photon Blast. It says deal 2 damage to a creature with 1 splash. If this damage destroys 1 or more creatures, make a token creature. With the flavor text, avoid dropping, submerging in water, and looking directly into the beam. User's manual. So it's just a fun way of doing removal and creating a token. Now, what's interesting here is if you see Photon Blast works, what you're going to be doing is you are on a Star Alliance turn. The token for this deck happens to be a Martian or a Mars token. So during your Star Alliance turn, you will create a Mars creature, which means your next turn, you're going to have a ready Mars creature, even though you didn't play it during a Mars turn. Again, with Brawl In, same sort of idea, make 2 token creatures, enrage them. And it says, I knew I had the Giants cards beat, so I went all in. Unfortunately, he went Brawl In, and I'm the one that took the beating. Bold Bruno. So that's a fun little flavor text, an old classic, and the Brawl In is pretty cool. I like the flavor of this card now that I've read the text. And again, you just get to make 2 token creatures, and this is again saying that on a Brobnar turn, you're putting Mars bodies on the field, and if there's any Mars cards from previous sets, there are quite a substantial amount of cards that state having ready Mars creatures to do the effects. So I think this is interesting, and I think the Mars tokens provide that extra level of fun within it. And again, you're taking cards from the top of your deck, placing it down. Those cards that you've placed down, you can look at it anytime. Your opponent cannot look at your face down cards, so you have the information of what card is no longer in your deck, because once these token representative cards that you took from the top of your deck are now tokens on the field. Once that is destroyed, it actually goes into your discard. It doesn't go back on top of your deck or anything like that. So that means that card is now no longer playable until you cycle your deck or recur it from your discard in some way. Last off, we have an artifact, Nyon Outpost. Artifact action, put a friendly creature on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, make 2 token creatures. That's interesting. Playability, depending where you are in the deck. I could see a lot of really fun things coming from that. And again, this is going to be, you get to keep making new token creatures. I guess that would work too if thinking of this further, a token technically is a friendly creature. So if you put that on the bottom of your deck, that means that's a way you could actually cycle a token that maybe was a really good card that you're going to need, and you need it sooner than that. So this is kind of a nice card to help you get back cards that maybe you didn't want to come off the top. Now here, let's go into what I'm going to call the exciting part of this conversation. Just need a little tea there for the throat. So moving into the last slide I have here to talk about, that is cards that are going to help you when you get put into a position where, oh snap, I just took the top card of my deck, and that is the card I needed in order to answer the issue my opponent's doing. So I think we are going to see cards like these 3 here. I think these cards here could all return. They're all different ways that you can look at your cards and put them back in any order, or have a chance to stay on top of it or be aware of what it is. So maybe that will influence you choosing whether you want to make a token or not. You may be like, okay, I can make a token right now, but what if it's this card and I need it? So I think we're going to see ways where you can actually have the ability to potentially see what's coming in order to plan your token turns more effectively. That's the one cool thing. So I would not be surprised if all 3 of these cards return, or something that's sort of like what these cards do, in the sense that you have it. I think we'll see some form of these coming in more than just Star Alliance, because right now it's been a trend in Star Alliance. But I think we may see some more ways where we can kind of enjoy that aspect of having some information before making a decision like that. So that's one thing that I'm pretty excited to see if the design team of the way they want the set to play is going to come into account in that regard, or if it's just going to be much more randomized and there'll only be like 1 or 2 houses that give you that kind of information. So that's the cool thing here. The last thing I wanted to state about tokens is I like the fact that you can basically hold off maybe calling your house that has the tokens in them, and then create some and build up a turn where you have a board of these tokens, and then suddenly you go into that house and you have all these creatures already available to be used and to do some really cool things. So I'm actually really excited about tokens now. At first I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about them, but now seeing a bunch of things, I'm actually feeling a little bit better about it. This card, actually, as I was talking, I really truly realized the value of the Nyon Outpost being able to actually put a token you created back on the bottom of your deck. So that way you can get it back into your draw is really strong. So I'm definitely liking this one a lot more, and it's also at uncommon, so that's pretty cool. I think we're going to see some really strong artifacts in this set. There's been a trend of artifacts being strong and seeing more that have a great utility, and I think we'll continue to enjoy that as we move forward. Let me know your thoughts on tokens, and as always, folks, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.